All right, Weekend Warriors, welcome to the Week 9 edition of the show. It's Halloween season, it's spooky season. Welcome on, Brett Hendricks.
What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me on, dude.
So, we're going to have
Been
Brett
been
on
a
a
couple
few
of
weeks
years.
ago, and it was unfortunately I had some stuff going on, but I was playing Brett. What was it, last week we played each other? Two
No,
weeks ago.
I played Terry last week.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago we played each other, and I was going to have him on that week. Fortunately, I beat Brett, and then last week I predicted him to lose, and that happened. So it's a good time catching Brett at a good time here on the pod. There's no rehearsal tonight. Usually I send some questions ahead of time, but Brett said I will do the pod. I don't want any questions, so we're going to catch him off guard here a few times. But
Yeah,
start
no,
off run of the mill State of the Union with your team. Started 0-2. The whole tight end didn't play situation. You were down in the dumps. Four in a row, three high score of the weeks during that time. And now you've lost two in a row and you're 4-4. Tell me about your team.
yeah, streaky is a word that could be used. Um, but yeah, I mean, you said it right. Like we started extremely slow. The Bengals were, Jamar Chase didn't have a training camp, so they started slow. As did the rest of my team. But 4 straight weeks, my team was popping off. I have five awesome receivers. Then Chris Godwin dies. I play you, my team, my guy gets pneumonia. Chris Godwin dies. So it's like, all right, like I still have a decent receiving core, but um, even last week I had a decent week. If I had made a better move at tight end, if I played Otten instead of Ingram, I ended up winning this game. So fantasy's a lot of what ifs, but I still think my team's in a good place, right? Derrick Henry has scored a touchdown every week. Um, Jamar Chase and Burrow is a phenomenal combination. So the team is solid. It was not as solid as it was with Godwin, but we still have some solid depth.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on the pod coming out and saying that Hopkins was a savvy pickup. It was a weird, no one really knew how much to bid. I think you bid the right
Yeah,
amount. That was good. Otten does look like he's going to have season long, at least until these other guys get back. I mean,
yep.
Godwin's out. Evans will come back. But, Chuba's been a pretty integral piece of your team. Are you worried about Brooks, who you also have?
Yeah, that's been weird. Like before the season, they made it sound like Brooks would be like right back after IR. Obviously, he's not. I mean, I'm less of concerned about the two of them and just more that offense in general. Bryce Young's atrocious. They don't move the ball, so it's like, unless he scores a touchdown, I mean, he's reliable because he'll get some catches and they involve him because that offense stinks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's going to get interesting when Brooks comes back. He'll probably take over that job at some point. At least I'm hoping. But yeah, there's going to be that weird in between where it's like I don't know who to play.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just a weird team too, just because, yeah,
yeah,
let's
they
be honest,
suck.
Brooks probably could have came back like 3 weeks ago if they were like in
Probably.
contention, but they got nothing. They can bring him back. Maybe he'll finish the season strong and then start next season strong. So that will be particularly interesting. Um, One thing of interest that, uh, again, you're 4-4, you're right in the thick of it. You're currently in a playoff spot. But the last place team, and this is kind of unique, I think, to some years, like the playoffs are almost decided, not now, but in a few weeks. The last place team's 2 games out. So it's
Yeah.
crowded in the middle, it's crowded at the bottom. Um, the ESPN playoff percentage gives you a 40% chance to make the playoffs. So my question to you is, do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think you have better chances? And let me two-part question:
Okay.
who do you think beneath you you're most worried about?
All right. So yeah, I think we're gonna make the. I think I have a. I mean, obviously fantasy luck, but like I have a lot of points, so I have the tie. I'm gonna have the tiebreaker unless my team totally tanks. I'm gonna have the tiebreaker over a lot of teams. If I win and Booty loses, I leapfrog Booty. Um, Team under me that looks good, like Jake's on the rise. You Hardings are always pesky. Um, so yeah, I would pick Jake of the. I mean, I haven't studied all these crap teams below me, but I know Jake's been on the rise. So
But you think you have a
I would
better
pick
than
him.
40% chance of making it?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
think I have a better again, unless Derrick Henry goes down, which would fucking suck. Yeah, he's not. I think I got a better than 40% chance.
But ESPN does factor in the 40% that you have a lot of points. I'm just going to put that out there.
What did you talk to their statistician?
With their algorithm, I'm just saying, they're not I
It
would
doesn't
like to
surprise me that
think
you know
that.
that.
I would like to think that they would think that. But in any event,
Look,
I
I'm an
would
analytics guy. I don't trust that. I need to see their numbers. I
that's
think there's a
fair.
lot of fluff there. They're
That's
trying to give
fair.
the bottom team some hope so people like keep paying attention.
I like that. I like that. Well, Otley's got a 7% chance. So, but the reason why I think some of that comes into play, Mr. Analyst, is because Dean is in last or in ninth right now, and he has a 14% chance. And he has, well, maybe not. He has 839 points. Valone is a spot ahead of him, and he has 887 points, and he has an 11% chance. So maybe it factors in strength of schedule. I think this is a little bit more complicated than we may think. But I would agree if I was handicapping it that you would get more than 40%. So in any event. But I don't know how much higher because in truthfulness, I think that, you know, it's going to take a lot to catch me. It's very possible, but it's going to take a lot to catch me. I think it would take a lot to catch Terry, also very possible. So I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 teams fighting for two spots. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Does
see.
this thing factor in that you constantly have a horseshoe up your ass?
Yeah, I think it does.
Like,
It's got to
all
take in
right,
my
this is
history
AI,
and
this is AI driven.
yeah. All right, so um, segueing here, standings update. Now, every matchup super super important. You said you win, Booty loses, you leapfrog him. You're playing Chris. He beats
Yep,
you, you lose to him, he leapfrogs you. So,
sure does.
what do you think about your matchup with Chris, and what's your confidence level?
That is one thing I was looking at before we jumped on this call. Like, I don't love the timing of when I'm playing Chris. Like his team, like was very handicapped most of the year. Now he's got a Tyreek Hill with a real quarterback. He's got Puka back. I mean Montgomery scores every week. Rashad White is healthy again. Like, and they're playing KC, and he's going to catch a ton of passes. That Miami Buffalo game scares the hell out of me. So I need Cincinnati to outscore Miami, whatever his contingent of Miami Buffalo players are.
Yeah, Allen and Kincaid.
Yeah,
Which Allen, he's had 120 yards and one touchdown, or he goes off for four. So that is a little scary. I would agree with you.
yeah.
All right. But so you're catching him on a bad week. You don't sound too confident. If you were giving out predictions, would you pick yourself?
I would pick myself, but it would be like it's like 60-40.
Okay. Okay.
Like if I lost this week, like I wouldn't be surprised.
Got it.
I like yeah. And Chris has some solid matchups, but I think my team is good enough that like if my team just pops off, then I think we can outscore that team.
Yeah. So you just lost to me and you lost to Terry. That's the bad news. Your remaining schedule after Chris is Jake, Booty, Otley, Kevin, Balone, and Dean. So, you know, definitely if you added up those records, I think you definitely have below average.
Yeah.
Not a cakewalk by any stretch of imagination, but I think we'll subscribe to the one matchup at a time, and you'll get my prediction here at the end of the show about your matchup. So I'll see.
Can't wait.
Um, so real quick, I'm going to do a quick recap of last week, Brett. For myself, just to keep my tallies right. I had Minnesota -2.5 that lost. You actually said you took the Rams, so you sniffed that one out. Great move by you. I had Indy/Houston over 46.5. That lost. I'll give a quick aside on that. Football Sunday at my house is crazy. I'm like cleaning food off the ground. Like I got one kid in my arm. Literally, I was watching a highlight of a scoop and score by the Colts, and I texted below, the over just cashed. I was looking at the score after the scoop and score, not the
Oh, you
score
idiot.
prior to the scoop and score. He texted me an hour later. He's like, that bet lost. I'm like, what do you mean? So I literally had a check mark next to this. I had to change to an X. Very disappointed. 0-2 in my picks. I'm 7-9 on the year. I need to give out winners on the show. And quickly, I was 3-2 in my fantasy picks last week, 24-16 on the year. And we had a high score of the week tie. Myself and Otley tied at 154, and we will be sharing $25. So a whopping $12.50 to each of us. So,
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
yeah, it doesn't happen often. It has happened before. It
I was
doesn't
just gonna
feel
ask that.
right to set a tiebreaker for that. I feel like that's just the way it is. So it
Yeah,
is what
no,
it
I
is.
like it.
All right, so that leads me to my next question is picks. Last time Booty was on this pod, we collectively gave out some picks. So it looks like you're studying a little bit. So I'm going to give you mine and you can
Yeah,
agree or
you go.
disagree.
You go first.
Thursday Night King, I've been more right than I've been wrong. I will say that. I have not been as good as I have been on the season. I have fallen into this stupid Jets trap
Ugh,
so many times. And I'm taking them again. This might be the last time I do it.
ugh.
At home, -1.5. I probably will bet the money line, but the official pod pick is Jets -1.5. Houston is banged up. No Collins still, no Diggs, and Stroud has not looked right. Mixon is carrying that team. I have Stroud in a two quarterback dynasty league, and I'm benching him for Bo Nix at Baltimore and Aaron Rodgers in that game at home versus the Colts. Their number one wide receiver, Tank Dell, is going to be locked up by Sauce Gardner. I think it's going to be a tough game for Houston. So I'm taking the Jets -1.5. And if they lose, I will never bet the Jets again in the history of football. So do you have an opinion on that game?
Ah, the under maybe.
Okay.
Like I'm not. That's not my official pick, but like that is a tough game to read. The Houston being banged up does scare me. But yeah, that Jets suck, and they're
They
like giving
do.
up.
And I know, and they're favored, and I just think their schedule softens up a little bit. Devontae's been on the team, hasn't scored a touchdown. I think you sprinkle that. I'm going to bet Devontae anytime touchdown. So that's my pick, and my other pick is Chicago +1.5, coming off this brutal loss against Washington. Arizona won in Miami. That team is so Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Don't trust them. Chicago is a road dog. I think they get it done in a bounce back win over the Cardinals. Would you like to share a pick?
Ooh. I'm looking at this. There's two I'm kind of teetering on.
You can give
Both
out two.
both home dogs. I kind of like the Packers +3.5 against the Lions. I just the line. Everybody's riding high on the Lions. Division game on the road in Green Bay.
Love is questionable.
All right. Well, I strike that pick if Love doesn't play.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know if you were a Malik Willis guy.
I assume they're going to cook some more points in for Malik Willis.
Okay.
That's it. This is a Love pick.
Got it. Okay. Got it. All right.
The
That's
other one
one.
would also the other one would also be Seattle, another Jekyll and Hyde team. You don't know what the hell you're getting out of them. But again, I see them as a home dog to a Rams team that is also not very powerful, despite having Cup and Tua back or Puka back.
What's the
Um,
line?
it's right now it's Rams -1.5.
Interesting.
Again,
On the
another
road?
division game. Yeah, Seattle's home.
Wow. Interesting. That's a
So
weird line. Okay.
yeah, so I kind of like again, Seattle's up and down. They're a weird team. But yeah, give me them at home, getting some points, getting a point
Okay.
and a half.
All right. Couple more questions.
All
What
right.
do we think about our own league member, Chris Vallone, his new role as the agitator? And it seems like it's working. Quick story, and he's going to love this, but I got to share it.
Let's hear it.
We're in Myrtle Beach, and he's like, Terry doesn't have a kicker yet. I'm going to put in all these claims for about 5 different kickers. I'm going to see who I can block. And hopefully he doesn't put in enough claims, and I'm going to just outbox him. I was like, I don't think this is a great idea to drop your whole team for kickers. He did a little flavor of it, and he stands by. So Terry picked up like the guy for the Vikings. He had like 15 points, but Malone stands by the fact that the guy he picked up, Cameron Dicker, and started it. He won on Monday night is the reason he won. So he did that. Now, if you haven't noticed, he's been changing his team name
Yes,
to
I
satisfy
have.
who he's playing against. He's getting under people's skin. Last week he had Lad McConkey with 40 points, all this stuff. So I guess my question is, do you like this persona and shtick, or what do you think? What do you
It's
think?
hilarious. It's absolutely only because his new team name. I'm in love with my pen pal. Like I saw that when I was eating lunch earlier, and I was dying laughing. Sorry, Jake, but that's absolutely hilarious.
And he's got about $2 left on the wire. So you always need a guy to kind of mix it up. And he's doing that. So
Yeah, Valone's always been that guy, which is hilarious. And his logo, like Booty can't look at his matchup at work when he plays Valone. Like, yeah, Valone, that's his role, and it's hilarious. Yeah, he's starting guys like Lad McConkey. He bid like $40 for Tucker Kraft the one week I wanted Tucker Kraft. Uh, but it's like when you're at the bottom of the standings, you kind of have to do some of this stuff. You
Yeah.
gotta pick up 15 kickers.
Yeah.
You gotta throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. It's
Yeah.
good he's ripped off a couple wins. Look, I mean, I just pulled up his squad now. Like, no, not great. But yeah,
Pesky.
he scraps by, like, yeah, pesky.
Yeah.
He could scrap his way up.
What would you put his playoff percentages at?
10.
All right. So near the algorithm. All right. All right.
Yeah, and that was blind looking. I'm just looking at his team.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So another question. What do we think of former league member Brian Michael Pearson locking up Field Yates in his basement, doing the Shane Gillis verbal meme from Sleep Cop
Yeah.
to his league? You had to have heard about this. What
Yes,
do,
I
what do we
sure.
think about this? Because Pearson, shout out to Pearson if you're listening. I'm sure you are. Let's hear it. What's the story there?
Yeah, he's hilarious. He hates fantasy. He doesn't care about fantasy. And meanwhile, he's like sitting there all night. He's been talking about it all week to me every day at lunch. He's talking about his goddamn point, whether they give up 6 points or 8 points. And he was looking up some guy on Twitter who looked up all this historical stuff. I'm sure you all heard all this too, but for the listeners out there, Pearson was basically sourcing every piece of information he could to prove that the defense gave up 6 points instead of 8, or was it vice versa?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
So the guy leaves the league because it's too much work and can't be in the weeds. Was Pepe
yeah,
Sylviaing his way to
yeah.
a
Then he
defensive?
joins a work league, new
Yeah,
member. Like,
yeah. I give him crap for that. But listen, Pearson, you knew you were going to hear some flack from us. But this defense thing, I literally, I was kind of hoping that the points would have stood because I'm playing him this week in that
I mean, he
league.
was he was right. Like,
No, he was right. He was
yeah,
right. But it's very funny.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So we're coming up to the end. Any other words for the league at this time? You want to say shout out anybody or give a prediction? What do you got? Put you on the spot.
I think you got to watch out for chasing the bag. This, despite losing Godwin, this is a good team. This is not a team you want to play. So you better hope I don't make the playoffs. You better hope I get unlucky, somebody else gets hurt or something, because Derrick Henry, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith sprinkled in there with Debo. Like, you don't want to play this team late in the season. So you
Yeah.
better hope somebody gets hurt.
All right. Well, the commission's going to have the last word. I'm not going into detail with my picks, but I'm going to throw them out there to everybody. I have Otley over Dean. I have Booty over Kevin. I have Valone over Jake. I think that
I
the agitator gets it
think he's
done.
in his head.
I have Chris T over Brett. And Brett,
I,
I'm sorry, but you called it, dude. I went into this and I was like, Brett's on the show. I'm going to pick on the win. I looked at Chris's matchups. He just lost Diggs. I'm like, he's going to be in trouble. And I looked at his team, and I think the stars could potentially be aligning for a team that has had a couple bad weeks in a row. I just calling it like I see it. I think Chris wins.
yeah, I just don't see. I don't think I'm losing three in a row.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna pull it out. But
And again, if I think I'm going to give like a 55% chance. It's not higher than that. So I think it's very close. And then I will say matchup of the week, maybe overshadowed by the special guest appearance, but the number one team myself currently is playing Terry, the number two team. Always a
yeah,
tried and true rivalry. Terry has a very good team yet again. Very surprising. Not really. But I'm picking myself. Obviously, I'm not going to steer away from what's working, but should be an interesting one. And if I win, I separate myself from the pack a little bit. If he wins, it gets messy. So we'll see what
go
happens.
Terry.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think you probably should root for me, but I respect that for the
No,
standings.
no, I don't care. Knock you down a peg.
If he wins, you got two people to compete with. If I win, you might pass him. But
Oh, I know mathematically it makes sense to root for you, but I don't want you on a high horse and 8-1. Yeah,
I like
no.
that. I like that. All right. Commish out. Good luck in week 9, and we'll be back in week 2. 10. Happy Halloween.
Say